This is TNC Movie Nights, and it felt like we wasted an hour and a half of our lives this week watching Son of the Mask, the review we're doing this week. Of course, it's Alex and myself, and we do have buddy of the show, Simon, with us as well. How you doing, Simon?
Doing good. Glad to be here for another fantastic review.
He's also the same one we have to thank for Jupiter Ascending, being one of the first movies that we reviewed. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. We talked about it, I think, a week or two ago on how Simon doesn't like good movies, but here he is to defend a movie he does very much so enjoy. Alex, I want you to start it off because your story of having to watch this movie is actually pretty comical, I thought. So I'd love to start out with
that. So this movie sucks a lot. It's insultingly bad, and it's so low stakes that it's like, I don't care enough about you. You don't matter enough to be considered one of the worst movies of all time, but that's just how bad you are. You're not even bad enough to like be considered one of the worst of all time. But if anyone gave a shit about this movie, it would be one of the worst of all time. But no one does, because no one needs to, because it's awful. So much so that within the first 20 minutes, I had to turn it off and kind of take a lap so I could get my composure back, because it was genuinely putting me in a bad mood. And movies don't normally do that because they're stupid and who cares. But this one just like, it's insultingly bad, and it's so poorly done. And even like the camera, I couldn't do it with the off-center angled close-ups that were cutting off hairlines. Yeah. Like, what do you do? It's like, God, it looked like a bad music video. And so I had to turn it off, take a minute. I got back into it. I still had to fast forward through a couple of parts, and I even dozed off in the ending. My body literally shut down because I could not watch this horrendous flaming turd anymore.
It is really funny because honestly one of my biggest issues with the movie is kind of some of the camera shots. I do agree with you, and I forgot on how many times back in the early 2000s you would see certain shots where it's like it would be zoomed away a bit, like where you could see like the whole person and then like zoom up right to their face, and it's like those like super close-ups and stuff was just so, I hated it back in the 2000s. Just having to go rewatch something like that was just so funny. That's not something just on this movie. It's just a lot of those bad like teenage young adult movies in the 2000s did a lot of those, and just kind of having to relive those again was just, it was a rough time. But yeah, for me, one of the only kind of like redeeming factors, I know for Simon there's a couple actors in the movie he really enjoyed. For me, Kal Penn, I love that man. I absolutely love him. He's of course in all the Harold and Kumar movies. They're a very fun time, I think, and he's just a fun person in my eyes. Anytime he does interviews and just anything that he's in, anytime he was on screen, I was like, I smiled a little bit. His scenes weren't really too over the top or bad.
The fact that they made him fake a bad accent for some reason.
You could still detect a hint of who he is, but he was trying way too hard, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those, very, very over the top in some areas of the movie. I do enjoy Kal Penn a lot myself. So it was definitely fun kind of seeing him in and out of the movie. Simon, can I just start out with some of the things you do enjoy with the movie? Because that's what I'm trying to start at the moment. Then we'll kind of go into the rough stuff a little later.
I've been trying to wonder and figure out why. I'm like, oh yeah, this is something I'd sit down and watch. And I think it just clicked in my head. I think this was the first movie as a child that was mine. We had it on VHS, and for Christmas I got a TV that had a VHS and DVD player all in one.
Yeah.
So I watched it on VHS, and like it was like, okay, this is fun, I'm a kid, I enjoy it, whatever. And then I found it in the dollar bin at Walmart or something for DVD. So I watched the DVD and was like, wow, this is way better quality somehow because it's DVD, even though it's not. It's the same exact thing. So I think it's a nostalgia, like, tick that buried its way into the back of my brain. Some part of it I liked. I didn't remember why, and as I watched it, I couldn't remember why. I laughed at the part where the baby's in the crib and she's blowing up the balloon, and the baby blows his head up like a balloon as she does it, and then he deflates and she deflates. She's kind of like, what? And I think that sums up most parenting. Kids do something, parents are doing something as well at the same time, and then the kid does something outrageous and they're just like, okay.
It's a bit of a stretch, but I do see where you're going with it. And you know
just
what?
the pure, like, what did my child just do on her face? I really, for some reason, related to that because my brother's 5 kids made that look on my face a lot. But yeah, this movie's bad. It's really, really bad.
I was going to say, you mentioned that you found this in the dollar bin. And I was just curious because the movie came out in February of 2005. I'm guessing you found it in the dollar bin in February of 2005.
I think it was at Dollar Video.
Okay. Oh,
You remember
that's
Dollar
awesome.
Video?
Yeah. Wow.
It used to be
I
a
think
thing.
they had
16
it
years ago.
for sale at Dollar Video. That's how bad this movie was. It was for sale at Dollar Video. But to backtrack with the cutting off hairlines and stuff like that, Alex, do you remember me talking about Third Rock from the Sun and how every broadcast now is not in its original format?
Yeah.
I think the same thing happened with this movie, where it's originally in 4:3 aspect ratio, and they had to stretch everything to fit 1080p today, so it cut off the top and the bottom. Doesn't make it much better at all.
Still ridiculous camera work, but if that is the
completely
case, that's
agree.
fair.
Yeah.
It tunes down the absurdity just a little bit to go, okay, it shouldn't be that zoomed in, but still.
Yeah, I can totally understand that, actually. And personally, I don't have an issue with the what is cut off and stuff like that. I can get past that. For me, it's so much, again, I felt like it was very early 2000s, so much like sweeping shots of like just the camera like moving so quick, and like it's not like it's just cuts where it just jumps from here to here. It's actually like sweeping the camera, and so much of that just feels so weird in this movie. But I do agree. I think some of that does have to do with, you know, the way the movie was rendered over to different aspect ratios and stuff like that. So I a lot of that does make sense. Now,
Doesn't help, but
yeah, it still is a really rough ride. Now, do you guys think this movie could have been an okay movie
No.
if it was Jim Carrey?
Oh, you bastard.
wait. I thought that
Not
was going
like
a
this.
completely different direction.
If you could not sub out Jim Carrey in this and make it watchable, it was too terrible. There was no plot. The bringing in like early 2000s MTV grunge Loki into this with daddy issues.
Oh man,
It's just like,
I loved that. The
what are you
visual of that was
doing?
like goth boy band, and it was
yeah, it was like an
so
in-sync
funny.
dropout. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Oh, so with the
What's going on?
super spiked hair, that was
That's
so
the
funny.
marvelous Professor Floop that you're bashing here, okay? He looked. Am I wrong? Didn't he look almost the same? He had spiky hair and Spy Kids, right?
Yeah, I think he did.
But it wasn't
I think
like
he did.
it wasn't like in sync pointed tipped spiked. It was just like gel in your hair and he ran a comb through it, you know.
Oh yeah,
Something like
it was
that.
it was kind of close. I'll be honest. I do think part of me thinks if Jim Carrey was in this movie instead, which I don't blame Jamie Kennedy for this movie. I more look at it as the writers, the director was like, hey, we need you to go study Jim Carrey movies for the next 2 months and then come back to us and give us your best Jim Carrey impression.
And ignore everything you've seen and then just put on this porcelain wig and don't
The
move your
porcelain
jaw
wig
when you
kills
speak.
me.
And so you're just going to look like this every single line that you say, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to have no charisma behind it, and then we're going to dress you up like Elvis.
Yeah, the wig is what absolutely killed all ties that it possibly
Oh,
could
yeah.
have had to the other Mask movie. The Mask was bald. You messed that one up, guys. You're not supposed to have hair. The freaking acrylic teeth, way overdone.
Oh, yeah.
Way overdone.
Wilbur.
As
Unbelievable.
my stepdad says, he could eat corn cob through a chain link fence, you know. There were so many aspects that were so... There was such potential if they took, like, seemingly small aspects that turned out to be gigantic flops and just made tiny adjustments. Like, I feel like this movie could have been called Loki Looks for His Mask, because it focused more on that rather than...
And that was genuinely
else.
the only enjoyable part, is when he was like flipping over stuff and it's like made in Pakistan and made in Taiwan. That was the only part where it was like someone with a brain wrote that.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie, it was like someone just wiped their butt and then went, look, it's a script. And then they made a movie out of it. And you're like, this isn't... To your point, though, Simon, when you're talking about like the nostalgia factor, I didn't have any because I didn't see this because I heard how terrible it was and I liked The Mask. So when this came out, I was like, pass.
Right.
But I used to watch like The Master of Disguises as a kid with
I
my
love
cousin.
that movie.
See, we're all doing this. Watch it now.
I did.
Dare
I watched
you.
it about
I'm going to be your
2
master
months ago,
of
and I
disguise.
still love that movie.
I literally couldn't finish it.
Oh,
It is
man.
so terrible. And so you have these like nostalgia tinted glasses, and you're like, oh, this movie was so fun. It's like, yeah, when you were 7 and your brain wasn't fully developed yet, but now we're adults and we're trying to watch it, and we're like, this isn't even. What?
All right, eventually
I
we
got
need to go back and watch that because I'll die on that hill. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's like a great movie
know
by
it.
any means. I don't think it deserves like a 7 out of 10. I just think it's one of those movies, even when I was growing up, it's so bad that it's just so funny.
I'm
And
willing to give it a shot.
oh man, I love I think it's Dana Carvey. Yeah, I
Dana
love Dana Carvey.
Dude, we were in Las Vegas, and Keith and I are grown adult men running through the casino going, I'm going to be a master of disguise, I'm going to be a master of disguise, for no reason. That movie will always hold iconic lines.
You can't have anyone say turtle around anyone in their
Exactly,
mid-20s
that's how it
to late
started.
20s without
That's how
without
it
going,
started.
turtle.
Somebody said, it was
See?
something about a turtle. It was a keychain in a gift shop or whatever. And Keith goes, "Meh, turtle enough for the turtle club, turtle." And I was like, oh yeah. And the new wiener and the tiny nuts. Oh yeah. And it just snowballed from there. And eventually it was, I think the second to last day, it was like, "Me cannoli. Mama, no more cannoli."
Yeah, this movie didn't even have that though. It
Yeah.
wasn't even
Can't quote
quotable.
a single
At least be
line.
quotable. If you're gonna be that terrible and you're just gonna like run off nostalgia for the whole length of your movie, have a quote, just one.
Right.
I couldn't tell you one thing that was said in this movie. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I won't remember Son of the Mask. I mean, I remember seeing it because I told you, Alex, I loved the first Mask and I was really excited to see it when I was little, and I hated it. I never saw it again. This is the second time I've ever watched it in my life now, 16 years later, and it was terrible. I won't remember any part of this movie when I wake up tomorrow outside of Cal Penn's in it, and there's a really bad acrylic hair. Yeah, the movie just absolutely sucks. It I wish it had something like we did kind of mention with Master of Disguise, a little bit of nostalgia, like the fun aspect to it. Even though how bad that movie is, it's still a fun, quotable movie. But yeah, Son of the Mask, just a rough time. Do you guys have anything else, bad, good, negative, to possibly chime in for this movie?
I do have one thing to note, like right in the beginning, where dude's trying to like become an animator and make a show and all this stuff, and she's like, I know you really want to do this show, but I want to have a baby. So what are we doing here? I was like, man, that's rude. You really
He's been a
talk.
failed animator for 10 years. They've been married for 10 years and he hasn't done any. He's still a turtle.
But
he
he
was a
wants
turtle
to
for
be an
10
animator.
years.
He
He's
doesn't
not.
want to be a dad.
I want to be friggin' Spider-Man. It ain't gonna happen, man.
Okay, then be
If you're married for 10 years and someone goes, hey, this is the next step for me. If it's not for you, we need to have a conversation. He's like, but I know you've been putting off your life for 10 years. Can you just do it for a little longer?
That's fair.
Get
I
out
forgot
of here.
it was 10 years. I forgot about that part.
Because I was like, he's doing his thing. And then she said 10 years. And I was like, oh, he sucks. He just sucks. And you know what? If you are out there and you're an animator and you've been struggling for 10 years,
Give up.
don't give up on your
Okay.
dreams. But you know what? If you've been married to someone for 10 years and they're like, hey, I think I'm ready to have a kid, and you're like, but my show, then you're kind of a dick.
To be
So
fair, as soon as they had the kid, the show like picked up. So I mean,
it wasn't because of the show, man. It was
That's
because of
true, that's true.
the now
mask.
somehow Norse mask, I guess. Because forget about the first movie, right?
yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know,
other
this is
thing. If you
weird.
call it Son of the Mask, have some tie at all to like the history of the other. So like in the other Mask movie, they didn't have any origin. It just like washed up on shore, right?
And that was intentional. It
Right,
was
right.
mysterious. It was because they thought about it. They used their brains,
Yeah.
and then they made a movie, and it was weird. But you could tell that like some brain cells were firing, some neurons were linking up with other ones to be like, these are words, and then they made a thing.
Yeah,
Not this
and
one.
Cameron Diaz, that helped.
She was really good in that one too.
She was really good. I'm not saying like she's a 10 out of 10, smoke show or anything, but she did a really good job in that role. Because I personally don't care for her, but she was awesome in that.
She did a really good job. And also, if you're gonna have someone be a literal cartoon character, Jim Carrey's probably your guy. Especially like early 2000s Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we need some noodly animated freak. He's like, I got you.
I got you.
Okay, here's a thought. Real quick, maybe scenario. If Son of the Mask were redone now, who would you want to see, and or who would do a good
Ryan
job
Reynolds.
as the main character?
Ryan Reynolds.
You just you just want him to be everyone and everything.
Yeah, because even if the movie sucks, it's still going to be a good movie. Hashtag Green Lantern.
But I mean, so they could keep it the goofy route, or you could go like Joaquin Phoenix Joker, serious route even, and be
I don't
like,
think the mask works seriously.
No, it's got to be goofy.
I
Yeah.
think the only way it would work again is if they did what the Dumb and Dumber series did, where they did Dumb and Dumber and then they just tried to redo it with none of the original cast, and then like 15 years later they were like, so forget that one. Here's the actual
Here's Jim
sequel.
Carrey again, yeah.
Yeah, here's
Yeah,
an
yeah.
aging star who was in this 20 years ago, and now we're gonna bring him back for the actual sequel.
I'd be cool with Jim
I don't
Carrey
know.
to come back for it. Personally, I don't just say Ryan Reynolds because I love Ryan Reynolds, but he is that goofy, lanky guy.
Yeah,
and he does have some animatedness to his actual physicality. Outside of him, though, I don't know, maybe give it
Andy Samberg. He wouldn't even have to wear the mask.
Oh my gosh, yes, 100% yes.
Brooklyn
Andy
Nine-Nine
Samberg,
just
yes.
absolutely shouts Son of the Mask to me.
Oh
sometimes.
yeah. Okay, I'm all for
I
that.
could get behind that. I
Oh,
could
yeah.
weirdly see like Keegan-Michael Key doing it too,
Yeah.
just based on some of the Key and Peele sketches where he just kind of lost his mind a little bit. If they tried to do like a spin on it where it was more of like back to being confusing, where
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
what the
yeah,
hell is
yeah.
going on? Not like, I'm gonna rock this bitch. Just like when the Jim Carrey style, when he was just like, what is happening? And now I'm a different person. I think Keegan-Michael Key would be
Yeah,
because
I
he had a
think he
bunch
could-
of characters that were kind of
Oh,
whack
yeah.
jobs.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I
Not-
think
not
honestly I probably would
anyone
go
in
like
this one,
Andy
though.
Samberg, then Michael Key, Key, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would probably be like Jim Carrey, Ryan Reynolds at the bottom there, but those two would be
fair.
really cool. Andy Samberg would be, I think, perfect for me
That
just
would be-
because
I
he's
think it'd be a
nutty.
great
That's a good one.
Oh yeah,
But like, who would you pair up with him though as Loki? Who could play a good, like,
Villain.
Oh god,
hey,
we're sticking with Loki.
give me my
Just-
mask back?
I got it. Loki. You
Tom
make it a Marvel movie.
Tom
You make it a Marvel movie.
Ooh.
Yeah. The Mask
Wait a minute.
becomes a Marvel hero.
I was gonna say, does that technically mean that the Mask is in the MCU if Loki is in it?
I
Or
don't
is it
think
a
so.
different universe.
I think it's just the
Mr.
Norse
Comic Book
mythology
Man
part of it.
Brandon, do they ever cross paths?
I'm almost positive. No.
Just the Mask
I
ever
think the
crossed
Mask
paths
had a
with
comic.
people. I don't think it was a Marvel comic though.
I
man.
think it was.
I think it was just the storyboard for this movie, and they were like, "Guys, look how stupid this is."
I think
The
it
Mask
was.
did have a comic book. I really hope it's not Marvel, but I'm gonna check.
God, please be Marvel.
That'd be funny.
It's not.
No,
There's no
it's Dark
way.
Horse.
There's no way.
It is Dark Horse Comics, which is like the biggest independent comic to Marvel and DC. So Marvel could easily buy it from Dark Horse and do something with it. But
Dude, Disney buys everything now. Just have Disney buy Dark Horse.
I gotta
and then
say,
there you go.
I just gotta mention, if they wanted to do like a Joaquin Phoenix type thing, that's like what the comics were. It was a very like he was like a gangster, like
Yeah.
killing people and stuff. It's like they could go that route and go kind of psycho with it with like a different kind of actor.
Like a Pacino movie. Oh my God, Danny DeVito as the Mask.
Danny DeVito. It always
Yes.
comes back to Danny DeVito. I love it.
This comes back.
He wouldn't even have to put on the mask. Like I would love it if he just comes
Just
out
a
with
green
like
jacket.
patchy green paint on his face.
He's like,
And he thinks he's the mask. He doesn't even have it. He never had it. He just saw it on TV once and was like, "That's gonna be me." And that's his origin story. Is it's just him poorly painting on the mask and pretending to be this cartoon hero. But like, if he gets shot, he just gets shot because he's
yeah, it's
not.
like Kick-Ass.
It's Danny DeVito in Kick-Ass as the Mask.
And hear me
Wearing
out.
the ninja costume.
My God.
God.
I have the perfect villain though. Like, can it just be Michael Cera? Like,
Oh my
I
God,
was
Michael
thinking that.
Cera as
I was thinking
Loki.
him in there. But he's just like super humdrum Michael Cera, like yelling
Yeah.
at us. He's just like, hey,
Oh
my God.
I need my mask back,
I need my
please."
mask back, please. I would do anything to see now a Mask reboot, having Andy Samberg as the Mask or Danny DeVito if we want to go that route, and then have Michael Cera or Jesse Eisenberg as the villain of Loki. I just love the two of
my
them,
God.
and
And
they're
then
both so
his
like awkward
girlfriend
with it.
/ wife is Aubrey
Ryan
Plaza.
Reynolds. Oh my God! Please, Aubrey Plaza.
Ooh.
I love
Clip it and ship it. Write it.
Let's just get the weirdest people and like
We're
make a
literally
fun
just,
movie.
Yeah, we're just literally getting like the old, like super popular comedy actors of like late 2000s, early 2010s, and just getting them back into a movie together. I love it.
Gary Busey as Odin.
Oh my God,
He's just like,
Gary Busey. God, you know what? There is a way this movie could have been worse, and that's if Gary Busey was Odin.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank you,
Yeah.
Simon. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking a positive
he
spin
could be
on
the
this.
Mask, dude. Look at his teeth.
Oh my, he is the Mask.
That's true. I mean, he had a really nasty accident that really messed up his life. Like, I
Yeah,
feel
he
bad.
did. But he's also still insane. And
Yeah,
he was kind of
from the
crazy
accident.
before that too.
Yeah,
Not nearly as much,
yeah,
though.
no.
What is the show? We've gone off the rails, man.
Hi,
This is what
welcome
Son of the
to
Mask. We've
ADD
talked about
movie nights.
Danny
Welcome to ADD Movie Nights.
We're here talking about Son of the Mask. Man, Danny DeVito and Gary Busey are weird.
Oh
Here's my
man,
final thoughts.
that's
This is
awesome.
what happens when we watch crap like this.
Yeah, we have to try to make it enjoyable somehow, because if not, the show would just be like, "Yeah, Alex, that movie sucked." See you guys next week.
Yeah. You gotta make you gotta stretch it into at least 10 minutes or something, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh my
about
God.
30 now, so
Oh
I guess we
my
can go and wrap
Fuck,
it up
just
here.
cut my voice out of it, just you guys.
Oh my God.
If we cut you out of it, it'll probably be like a 4-minute episode.
There's just no context. It's just us laughing, going, Danny DeVito.
That's your review. It's an 8-second long movie. 7 of it are intro.
Danny DeVito. And then it's just
Cut.
All
All right,
Oh my
all right,
God.
we're gonna go and wrap it up there. Alex, where can the people find us?
Well, Brandon, the people can find us, one-stop shop us, at thenerdchambers.com. That's where everything gets posted. It goes to other places like the socials. You can follow us at TNC Movie Nights on the YouTube if you're watching us, on the anywhere you have podcasts if you're listening to us. But the one-stop shop that I said, thenerdchambers.com. We post all the episodes to there. You can meet all of the people if you haven't met us yet. There's a link to our merch shop. Still rocking the TNC logo. Brandon's got TNC Penguin coming up. That hardcore Comic Sans right there. Love it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else?
No, that was a lot of fun today. Thank you, Simon, for joining us today. This movie sucked.
Thank you,
thanks
Simon.
I appreciate the recommendation because that was a fun time just to kind of crap on that movie for a bit. But of course, we'll be back next week. Go ahead.
I said I'm glad I can be on, and I'm always up for a crappy movie request.
Works for us. All right, guys. Thank you so much for swinging by. We'll see you all next week for Mortal Kombat. Another possible movie that didn't need to be remade, but we'll see.